If you enjoy the content, I would appreciate you hitting the subscribe button and checking out my socials. EliGE is one of the elites in today's Counter-Strike. While known for his longevity in Liquid, incredible mechanics, and absurd spray control, he defends a vital part of Mirage on the defensive side, which in turn helps Liquid protect their 90% win rate. Heya I'm Smirky, and today I want to look at EliGE and how he defends Con on the CT Side of Mirage, so let's begin. But want to get individual training and CS classes for 30 days for 1 cent on your first month?
Affirmative.
Well, thanks to today's sponsor, Gosu Academy, you can.
Yes, my friends, yes!
Gosu Academy is the CS school where you can join frequent classes hosted by various pro players and coaches. In these classes, you can submit demos in the Discord to be reviewed and critiqued by the coaches, or join them in theory sessions on a map. And I will also be hosting some of these sessions myself. On top of this, they host weekly scrims where you can jump into a 5v5 with coaches on both teams, helping you during and after the game.
Our enemies tremble.
This entire course is $29 per month, but again, you can try the course for pretty much free for 30 days by using the code SMIRKY at checkout, which equates to 12 classes. Now go on and rank up. Let's first take a look at his pathing. EliGE will have 2 ways of getting to connector. The first way, and is preferable, is through jungle. Typically during this, the B or short player will shoot out the vents, allowing him to jump through quickly. From here, he will shoot out the other vents in ladder room, to make it so if any players want to play in ladder room, and spot towards window or bench, it's a lot easier to have visibility and rotate. And afterwards, he will make his way into Con. But if he has the spawn for A, he will go through it. In this round, EliGE is going to come out of CT spawn and throw this Molotov. This might look like your ordinary Molotov that your MM player will throw, but if you look closely, the Molotov restricts the T-side's visibility of EliGE crossing, making it difficult to gain information and pick him off. And there was also a round where EliGE did the exact same Molotov and combined it with a HE to damage anyone looking behind it. Now, it's important to know when you should throw your smoke in connector, as you don't want to be doing it at the start of every round, as in some cases you might just be wasting it. EliGE will smoke off Con if he has presence in mid, he will smoke off Con as a reaction to something, for example an execute, an AWP pick on the other side of the map, etc. Sometimes he just doesn't smoke at all, and jiggles from the stairs. In this round, EliGE is making his way towards connector, and he's going to start jiggling, waiting for something to come out. And in this round, he's going to smoke off Con, as his teammate and OC can't spot players running out of mid. And they also threw this flashbang, indicating a bit of presence. As a result, EliGE is going to smoke off Con, but in this round he doesn't peek off it. Likely because the presence is so little. And it's also worth noting quite a few times, his opening teammate and OC will drop him an extra smoke, as he doesn't really need it when he's running around the map with an AWP. So it's a lot more useful to give it to EliGE, where he can defend Con. In round 28, G2 is going to throw a window and a top mid smoke, along with some flashbangs. As a result, EliGE will smoke off Con straight away to try and have some vision. And it looks like EliGE will throw the smoke every time there's a lot of presence towards mid, likely to ensure mid doesn't get rushed down and he loses Con control too quickly. Now, I mentioned that EliGE will smoke off Con if it's in reaction to something. Take this round as a good example. In this round, EliGE is juggling towards connector, where OC goes towards Palace and gets the opening kill. This is just my analysis coming in, but since they know OC is the AWP on Liquid, they know that there's no opening presence towards mid, and it's possible G2 may accelerate, possibly leading into an early fight with EliGE. Another good excuse to throw this smoke is when the T side throws the top Con smoke. In this round, EliGE hears the top Con smoke coming in, so he throws his own smoke and tries to block their smoke. And he does a pretty good job with it, even though he doesn't use it. Since he was stood there jiggling and he was able to block their smoke, he could have used the right side of the smoke to try and pick players off as they go towards short. Lastly, I've seen a few scenarios where EliGE just doesn't throw his smoke. Round 6 is a very good example. In this round, EliGE starts towards connector, however there is little presence in mid, and his teammate in Nitro, who's towards the window, doesn't spot anyone. As a result, he can just hold onto his smoke and skulk around the stairs. Now, what does EliGE actually do inside of connector? Well, let's take a look. In a second, I'm going to showcase a lot of angles EliGE will take, but I want to give you a quick overview of how EliGE typically acts inside of connector, just for a bit of context. Of course, EliGE will start out with his traditional smoke and go for an initial peek. At this point, he generally floats around connector, playing different angles. So at one point, he will take a top mid angle, it may play towards under, etc. But it is worth noting around the 139, 138 mark, he will generally look towards under and Molotov it. And I'll get more into that later in the video. Now let's have a look at some of the angles he uses. When the T side does a top mid smoke, you can play an angle like this to catch players running past it. This means if they were to swing out mid without a window smoke, they would run into your AWP, or if they were to run for a top mid smoke, they will run into your crosshair. Afterwards, EliGE will peek out and try to peek behind the top mid smoke, catching players attempting to cross. And with this angle, it is really difficult to get a kill, but you could get a bit of leg damage in there. Those angles were aimed for top mid, but what about short? Well, here's some angles you can use. This is a really solid angle, as combined with the connector smoke, it makes it really difficult to walk into short, as they're going to be open to both connector and short at the exact same time. And as the T's typically look towards short, it will usually give EliGE a free kill from the back. But in this round, he decides to peek out a little more, likely wanting to go for a fight. So he's just going to jiggle back and forth, ready for someone to enter his crosshair. And this last angle is pretty much similar and has the same benefits. However, this position is a bit more played compared to the other one, yet you have quicker access to A, making it easier to help with A if it's needed. Now, as I alluded to before about underpass, EliGE will generally play some angles, go for a fight, then roughly around the 138 mark, he will peek out and Molotov under. As generally around the 138 mark, that is when a T-side player defaulting under will make it out towards mid, shifting. So by doing this, you're delaying their mid control. However, once he throws the Molotov, he's going to peek out with the smoke to try and spot any players running past it, using the smoke as a one-way and forcing anyone out with his Molotov into his crosshair. In round 18 against Na'Vi, we can see something similar, except this time it's going to be a bit later. He will throw the Molotov and wait for anyone to peek out. But it is worth noting, if the T side decided to run all the way through under, your short player, in this case your Kinder, should be able to hear it and give you the information. But once the smoke and Molotov has faded, he's going to throw a quick HE, potentially catching any T-sided players wanting to come out after the util. Now, as a connector player, you are in charge of this area: connector, jungle, and window. As at times, your window player may need to rotate around the map, meaning it's your responsibility to cover it. Later in the video, we're going to have a look how he does it in the middle of the round, but right now, let's have a look what he does at the start. Whenever EliGE is playing towards window at the start of the round, he likes to throw this Molotov. This Molotov is pretty easy to throw, and is also super effective against the spawn smokes. And the whole point of this Molotov is to block the T-side insta smokes, creating a tiny little gap, allowing EliGE to peek on the right of it. However, in this round, Na'Vi didn't throw a window smoke, but instead he wants to peek out of mid. So he's going to wait for the Molotov to go, he will peek out of mid, setting his crosshair up, knowing the T-side have smoked top mid. But unfortunately no one decides to peek him, so he will give a quick spam through the smoke and fall off. Another example of this Molotov is in round 17. In this round he doesn't throw it but Yakinda does, and well, when both him, Aussie and Yakinda peek out of window together, Simple has just no chance. I will say in this round, this little 3-man window peek is a bit of a gimmick, but you can still see the effectiveness and you could do this with Europa. Now, especially on that CT side, it's very common to throw a Molotov onto the top mid boxes, making it very uncomfortable to take mid control as a T. This Molotov is typically thrown from window, however because it's smoked off so much, you need a lineup to throw it. And well, EliGE is using one of the better lineups I've seen. At the start of the round, he's going to make his way through the hole, he will try to keep his crosshair in the middle of his screen, and make sure it's above the shadow. In this round, he decides not to throw it, but if he had, all he had to do was put his back against the wall, run and left click throw, and it would have gone behind the boxes. However, he does throw his own Molotov anyway, and in this round specifically, he's waiting for any burning players to run out the flames into his crosshair. Later, EliGE does want to fall off, so he's not open to so many angles, so he'll give a quick spam for the smoke, but well, Monacy gets the better of him. Now lastly, I've seen a few rounds where EliGE likes to be aggressive from window, and this is one of his most common plays. In round 4, EliGE is going to jump out of window and throw this HE, damaging players as they swing out. Once he lands towards under, he'll use the smoke as a cover so he can peek towards top mid safely, waiting for any players wanting to swing out behind the boxes. However, EliGE doesn't want to stay there for too long as he could get spammed from under, or get overwhelmed by top mid, so he will fall off to connector. In round 11, we can see the exact same thing. He will throw his HE, smoke under, waiting for any players to peek out. However, instead of falling back to connector, he wants to try and go for an opening kill by getting your Kindle to set him up with a flashbang. But unfortunately, when EliGE swings out, most of the heroic players were turning around, making your Kindle's flash useless, and making EliGE only go 1 for 1, which isn't really ideal. Now let's take a look at his positioning during the mid round. During the mid round, EliGE is commonly outside of connector, as it's very easy to get overwhelmed by utility and players once your smoke is gone. A common position that I've seen from EliGE is playing towards jungle, spotting Palace. In this round, he's jiggling between Khan and Palace, but by doing something like this, you reduce the chance of your A player getting suddenly peeked out Palace without it being held. But it is worth noting, if you do jiggle towards connector, especially without a smoke, you're very prone into dying. Another position that I've seen EliGE play is this Nico angle. This Nico angle is obviously something Nico has played a lot, and was meant to be a bit of an off angle. However, I've seen it played quite a bit, and your enemies will know about this. However, it's still a really good position, as from here, you do have a slight off angle into connector, especially against lower ranked players, and if your teammate needs help on A or Palace, it's very easy for you to swing out and assist. A quick bonus position, I haven't actually seen EliGE play stairs at any times during his demos during the late round, however I've seen quite a few comp players do it, so I'll just quickly brush over it. Stairs, again, is a pretty nice place to be. It's very easy for you to switch between Khan and Palace moving around. And if the T smoke top Khan, it's pretty difficult for them to lurk through, as you can just hold the left side. Now, if you're playing towards window, this is a position you could take. In this round, he's jiggling between Palace and window, until he eventually jumps into this wooden post. From this wooden post, he's able to jiggle towards under, collecting quick information. And if a T decided to place himself onto this angle, they won't be expecting EliGE's head to be so high up, while he's also ready for them to peek. Now this part is vital information you must know as a con player. On the T side, the Ts are typically trying to split through into different parts of the map, trying to find gaps. If window is smoked off, it's pretty easy for someone to jump in or get boosted, again finding that gap. However, by EliGE putting his nose into the smoke and aiming at this light source, EliGE will be able to spot if any players go past him. As soon as the light source disappears, he knows someone is there and can start shooting. And this is a pretty common play EliGE will do whenever there's a window smoke up. Now let's quickly talk about some window re-aggression. You generally want to aggress towards window when either the T side have gone silent you need the information, you're a man down, or you need to retake some map control. In this round, EliGE is just jiggling towards short, going back and forth, trying to find this remaining player in Tessus. However, to find that information on where he is, he will slowly peek out of mid with some diligent crosshair placement, but unfortunately doesn't find him, as Tessus finds him. To be fair, Tessus' flank is not something EliGE would expect, as it came all the way from B. Unlucky. Now, round 22 against G2 is a really good example of when you should peek out mid. In this round, there is no one towards connector, meaning G2 could spill out, and they're also throwing util onto the A bomb site. EliGE, knowing he could get wrapped from jungle, will use his 2 players in short to all swing out mid together, collecting information and going for fights. And this play will be really successful as your Kinder doubles up, giving EliGE a bit of space to go to jungle. Now, if you're leaning towards connector or stairs, but there is an execute, how should you react? Well, EliGE will show you a few ideas. In this round, EliGE is watching towards under, when suddenly G2 execute onto the A bomb site. Now, if the stairs aren't smoked, you can use it to peek over and try and find some kills. And that's what EliGE is going to do with pinpoint accuracy and careful movement. As we can see, EliGE will slowly bop his head up, not wanting to go too far and just having a quick peek. After peeking, he will fall off a little bit just so he can throw his util. However, the rest of Team Liquid has killed the remaining players, only leaving Huxley, so EliGE will just go for the peek, but doesn't quite get him, but his team will finish him off since they know his location.
Just send me location.
A pretty common gimmick that I've seen from EliGE is trying to abuse the T-side smokes. Let me show you what I mean. G2 are executing onto the A bomb site, and you can see that the jungle smoke has a little bit of a gap. Generally, the jungle smoke will have gaps either on the left or the right side, allowing the CTs to put their nose in. From this position, and with EliGE's mechanics, he should definitely be good for a kill. And in this round, he is super close in spotting Hunter planting the bomb. But from this point, they're going to play retake. Round 18, we're going to see something similar. Na'Vi's going to execute. He will try to abuse the same gap. However, he will decide to go for this one, where he will play on top of the stairs, spotting players going to triple. I will say this shot is a bit harder to hit, but you do get the information if anyone's trying to go CT, and you can get some pretty good damage in. And a good habit that EliGE has adopted is checking his behind. It's not too unreasonable to think that there might be some players sneaking through the connector smoke or coming up through late under, as at times they may split into the site or leave a lurker coming in late. Now let's have a look at our last section, which is about playing double A. Between 2 and 4 times a game, EliGE will decide to play double A with his teammate. And whenever they play double A, this is a pretty common play I've seen. In this round, Orsi's going to do the Molotov. Both Nitro and EliGE will flash above mid just to get their attention away and support Orsi, and at this point they're going to start pushing ramp together behind the Molotov, getting ready to trade off each other. Once they cleared ramp, they'll get into a powerful setup where EliGE will hold towards Palace and Nitro will juggle ramp. In round 22 we can see the exact same thing. EliGE will come out of CT, since he's first he'll do the Molotov, Nitro will flash, and they will both peek behind the Molotov together. Now I could also showcase all the different setups you can do on A, however I think there's plenty of videos out there, and this video is pretty long enough. But if you really need a setup, this is a pretty solid one, where EliGE is going to be holding towards under, watching for any potential lurkers coming out of ramp. Meanwhile, Nitro's jump peeking and baiting from CT. After watching quite a few of EliGE's demos, I've noticed he's quite versatile. He understands how to play the important role as a con player, but also understands how to play inside of window and on A with a teammate. He's reactive. A lot of his movements, util and pushes is based off the enemy. Do they have mid? Should I hold window? Can they go con? Should I peek mid? And so on. Lastly, I feel like he's passive. EliGE's CT side is a bit more on the passive side. He doesn't do crazy pushes compared to Heroic, where they do it every round, or he is an eagle peeking top mid whenever he can. He mostly stays in his lane with a few pace changes in some rounds. Do you want to get an early man advantage on Nuke on T side? Well, if you do, check out this video I broke down about how Charlotte did their triple nades and got an early kill 7 seconds into the round. Apart from that, thanks for watching, see you in a bit.